Why? I don't know. I don't get it. What's happening? I think we're having technical difficulties because one, OBS didn't start. Streamlabs started bugging. I couldn't get on live, and now it stopped recording randomly. So that's weird. Anyway, I think everything is good now. Let me just check one more time. Right, we're live, so that's fine. Actually, this would be my main source of info. Okay, all right, everything is live. Okay. What's the prompt? How to connect with people, right? I'm assuming that's it. Okay, how to connect with people. Let's do it. um, boom. Right. What? Whiteboard. Did I not save this yesterday? I didn't. Alright, save. This was how to. Did I save it? How to spot disloyalty. SPOT disloyalty. And then I'll reset this. Okay, how to connect with people. Well, how to connect with people. Ah, am I losing frames? Hopefully not losing frames because this is only my laptop. It's on my laptop. I don't want to lose frames. I just want to make sure I'm a good streamer. How many days has it been now? So 31 days in January, right? Plus 12 days. That's 43 days. So 43 days of this. I should be a decent streamer right now. Okay, should be a decent streamer, right? I don't know why I'm still having technical difficulties. Maybe it's because I'm just spending like 1 hour to really get all of this. But I think it's been useful. So, how to connect with people, right? I think there are many different ways to connect. I think this does depend on your personality because some personalities attract, right? And other personalities repel, right? You know what I mean? So, why is this? It feels too stretched. I bet you guys can actually see this when I click up, but it feels a bit too stretched. Let me put view and I'll say, yeah, I think that'll be better. So yeah, how to connect with people, right? Um, right. So I'll label personalities as P. Like, and you have to try follow this because I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna be logical about this, right? So if PA, right, this is one type, right? If PA, right, some personalities I'll just identify one type. PA has a personality that attract, right? And PB. Okay, I'll do this. I'll do PA, PB, PC, and P Diddy. I don't. That wasn't funny. Sorry, that wasn't funny. Okay. That wasn't funny. That was not funny. That was not funny. I don't know why I even said that. It's fine. It wasn't funny though. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. Well, it wasn't funny. That wasn't. That started with a joke. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. Where was I? Okay, right. So let's say, for example, right, PA and PC attract, right? PC and PD attract, right? Um, PD and P, uh, PB attract, and PA and PB attract. Although PA and PC, PB and PC don't attract, so I'll say E for attract. You have to just, or I'll just cancel this. I'll just put an X. I'll put a red. For the ones that don't attract, I'll put a red, right? These ones don't attract. These ones don't attract. Okay? You have to just try to follow along. You know what I mean? Just try to follow along. Okay. With these types of personality traits, right? With these types of personality traits, you have to understand that there are some that attracts, like, they're really, like, mix well with each other. There are types of people that mix well with each other and others that don't. And there's also outliers. Not outliers, but a way that you can modify your personality to make you at least approachable. Because if you want to connect with people, then it's like you have to go past the different stages of connecting. Let's just say, like, broad, what are friends? Like, how close are people with, right? Strangers, right? You can be strangers. You can be acquaintances. Flip. See here. You can be acquaintances, right? You can be friends, close friends, and you can be, like, blood related. Right? And then it's like your, like, opposition, and your enemies, right? So let's say to get close with someone, it's like you want to go from here. It's not closer. So to get close with someone is you want them to be your close friend, or you want them to be your friend, right? So either you're coming to this angle from strangers to friends, or you're coming to this angle from strangers to close friends, right? So I think most people will want to go from strangers to friends, right? The acquaintance is too vague. It's like you're not close. You just know that person, and they're not on bad terms with you. They're not your opposition or your enemy. You just know of them. They know of you. They know you exist. Basically, that's what an acquaintance is, right? They know you exist. So to connect with people, right, is to go from strangers to friends. How do you make friends? Is the same question as how do you connect with people? Or is it? Let's actually think about that one. Is how do you make friends the same question as how do you connect with people? Honestly, I think we spoke about friendship before, and I actually have a different, like, idea of friendship, but I'm just going with the broad general sense, because this is kind of like how you show, like, relationship status with another human being. This would be like worse, and this would be like better, right? So how do you go from strangers to friends? Well, who are you? Okay, you guys are strangers. Who are you to that person? This question I'm gonna ask. Well, you guys are strangers, right? How do you make a stranger your friend? What are the steps? Not for any other case, but just to make them be on good terms with you. You see, the thing about me in my life right now, I'm not really trying to make any friends. what I would say is I'm trying to get acquaintances on my side, you know, rather than friends. Because for me, a friend is like someone pretty close. I'll just take that as close friends, right? For me, I'm not trying to make any close friends. I'm trying to just make like acquaintance slash friend, because my friends category is full. But that's not up to me to decide sometimes. Sometimes when people are just gonna be great because you haven't met everybody. So people will just be so great and you just, you know, ooh, that was a lag. I don't know what's wrong with my internet today. You know. So how do you go from complete strangers to friends? What is that process like? Well, at one point, one party or the other, like between the two people, have to not approach. Like it's not like you're approaching someone, but there has to be a situation where you guys are forced to know each other more, right? Either forced to know each other more, or um, one of you has a reason to speak. Okay, so let's say that's better, right? Before you can get close to me, there needs to be a reason for both of you to interact, right? Now let's take this. Let's answer this question over here, right? There needs to be a reason for the initial interaction. There needs to be a reason for the initial interaction. And more often than not, if the interaction is organic and not artificial, then it's a better start. But honestly, friends can be made from very, very different situations, like many, many different situations. Like, what would be an example of an organic interaction? It would be a friend of a friend, right? That would be like probably the most organic reaction. Or you guys are in the same school, or this, or this and that, right? So I think most of the times this reaction happens based on proximity, right? If you are just in the same area as somebody else and you guys are forced to actually interact with each other, then it's like the initiation, like that's the initial reaction, initial interaction, right? You guys are in the same place and you guys just happen to, there happen to be a reason you guys spoke to each other, and that's the first step from going from strangers, like you had no clue this person ever existed before, to becoming eventually friends, like to connecting with someone. Okay, so um so reason for interaction, and then this first step to eventual friendship. How to connect with people. All right, let's go back to this here. Right. So if this is how to connect with people, right? That means we're the person trying to connect with somebody else. No matter what type of character, what type of person, we just want to be the type of people that has the ability to connect. You know? So it's not like, oh, if our personalities don't match, then we just don't connect. No. Anybody, believe it or not, this is what I think too. Anybody can connect with a different person. It's just a human thing, right? Anybody can connect. Like unless you guys are enemies, and even then enemies can also connect together, right? They can, but it's a different scenario. But I'm saying any type of stranger can connect, right? There can be strangers in different countries. Let's say there's been like their cultures are completely different, but on a fundamental level, if you're trying to connect with people, right? regardless of similarities or differences and barriers to connecting, there are human things that you can understand that just helps you connect with anybody, right? When you see how a person is, right, on an individual level, you know, you have to be aware of the of how you come across to be not attractive but appealing to somebody else, right? You're trying to connect with somebody else, you're trying to understand them better as a person, you're trying to know um like how they think, who they are, and the rest, right? So you're trying to connect with them. So basically, you have to really understand the different personality types, right? The PAs, the PC, the PB, and the PD, right? You have to really, and there's many more. The reason why I'm not giving it like a particular like label is because I don't want to um like so like I think people I think people are can revert to like a blank slate, and a person's personality is just sort of what they've learned over time. You can genuinely make friends with someone you never thought you would be friends with ever. You can, because people are um malleable, right? You know what I mean? People can not change, but are they are accepting of people, more than they think they would normally, right? So you can use that to your advantage, basically, if you want to connect with someone. I don't care what, like, why, but if you want to connect with someone, like, on a human level, right, for good reasons, then it's possible to connect with everybody, I believe, with anybody. We have to understand, like, you have to be quick, right? In this, let's say, in this initial interaction, you have to be very quick at dissecting what their personality type is. Obviously, not make like a full assumption then, but use that, because most of the time people are more than their surface level, right? They'll put up like what they want people to see, who they want people to see them as. But to connect with someone, you have to go past the surface. You genuinely have to. So in this initial interaction, your conversation, it has to show that. Let me actually think about this, because an organic conversation is better, right? But if you're trying to connect with someone, then you genuinely have to ask the right questions. I think questions are the most important thing. The most important thing. It's only human beings out of every other type of um, living thing that's in the world that has the ability to ask questions, right? You can answer questions and talk about yourself all you want, but people like to talk, right? So when the time you spend with somebody is used very valuable, when the time you spend with someone is used to the highest possible value, when you're asking sort of the right questions over and over, right? Then it's better for it's like not better. Is it easier? But it's just like it's it's a good way to connect, right? Because you're not just trying to see the surface level, like you don't care about the surface level. And by the way, this sort of ability to ask good questions, people can use it, like people can be very malicious with this skill as well. So you have to just I don't know. Okay. To connect with someone, you have to understand them quickly. With the first three questions, you need to be able to understand who someone is. Even if the questions are unrelated to like sort of digging deep, right? Based on how they answer, you should just sort of understand this person fundamentally if you want to be able to connect. So what that means is that you need to know the personality types. You need to know this. right? I'll just put two things here. I would say introverted or extroverted. Everybody is. Everybody has heard of this, hopefully, right? Extroverted. Introverted means you sort of keep to yourself. You stay inside. Extroverted means you're very expressive. You express yourself a lot. You like to communicate and really interact. I'll just say that. Make it simple. So, right. The personality type is obviously way more than introvert, extrovert. Like there's a mix sometimes. There's like more in this and this, and it's like sometimes really hard to tell. But your first three questions, right? You need to understand at least some level of the type of personality someone has, and ask questions in a curious way, rather than asking questions to prove yourself right. You know what I mean? It's like you're exploring, right? And when you're asking curious questions, everybody can tell if questions are manufactured for you to just get a response and then you can respond back. But if you're asking a truly curious question, okay, I would say this. To connect, you need to ask curious questions. Right? Curious questions. So questions that aren't manufactured. Those are the types of questions you need to ask, you know? Because people would know. And another way somebody would know that your questions aren't like manufactured, right, is based on your reply. Like, let me just take a sort of a side. Let me take a little tangent. When you're speaking with someone, right? When you're speaking with someone, okay, you shouldn't know where the conversation is going to go. You shouldn't know. You can steer the conversation in a good direction, right? The direction of the conversation you should control or try to keep control, right? Although you shouldn't necessarily know exactly where the conversation is gonna go. So when you ask a curious question, you're basically asking a question, right? But with zero expectations, right? When you expect something, when you expect something, right? That's when the convo begins to get boring, and they can see that. So no matter what question it is, have your mind open for anything that could be said, for anything that could be said. And if you truly want to be the type of person that connects with people very well, you need to be able to not be like thrown aback with any answer. So anytime there's an answer, because you're like asking curious questions, like you don't know what they're gonna say, right? You're not asking and saying, "Oh, I know what this person about to say or that person about to say. I know exactly what's gonna come next or this and this. I know people so well." No, you're asking questions because you genuinely just don't know who this person is. They're complete strangers, right? Even if people like act the same, people do like, even if like you sort of think that subconsciously, it doesn't matter. Treat every stranger that you're trying to connect with as if they're a completely new species that you've never seen before, right? But one thing you must realize is that you cannot get thrown aback by any answer. So, being able to ask really good, curious questions and being able to have very good replies, not replies, sorry, like follow ups. Yeah, very good follow ups. So, ask curious questions and ask curious follow ups. If you ask a good question, it's only half the battle. A good follow up is the best thing, because now, when you have very good questions and you have very good follow ups, right, you're able to control any conversation. And if you're very good, you can allow the person to control the conversation too. So, what it is it's a question, they get an answer, right? You get an answer, they have a good follow up, right? The good follow up, you get an answer, then you have a good follow up. Good follow up, you get an answer, you have a good follow up. You know what I mean? And then if you're very good at sort of this, you can actually give them the thing too, right? You can give them the thing too, because most of the time, somebody will ask a question. No, you ask a question. They will answer it, and they will want to know something back. They would, right? Keep your answer short, very short. Every answer you keep your answer very short, because what you're trying to do is make sure that other person talks, because you're trying to connect with them, right? Everyone likes to talk about themselves. Everyone likes to talk about, why am I losing bitrate? Why am I losing bitrate? Why am I losing bitrate? Why? Everybody likes to talk about themselves. Everyone. So the best thing you need to be to connect with people is the person that will listen, right? But there's another twist. If you listen and don't remember, that's very, very bad. So even if you have to repeat it like a lot in your head just to remember, or ask it again, do that. But do it in like a funny way, you know. If you're going to ask the questions, you need to make sure you're noting down the answers in your mind. Always. That's why it's good to ask the curious question, because the answers would, like, it stores better in your memory, rather than asking like manufactured questions that are just like, you get this same, like everybody has the same, you have like an answer to this same question for like 100 different people, and you might just miss one along the way, you know. So when you have a conversation, ask curious questions if you're really trying to connect with people, right? Give me 1 second, let me just can't talk right now. Okay, right? Where was I? Right. Curious questions, curious follow-ups, and being able to pass the baton, like not pass the baton, but pass the control of the conversation to the other person, right? Have sometimes where you, most of the time, have a short answer. If they ask a follow-up, then you expand your answer a little bit, not too much, but revert it back to the person. Make sure you're learning more about the person than them about you, right? But when you answer questions, answer it in an honest way. Be honest about how you answer. Just be honest. Because when you're honest, then there's no, there's no coming back. It doesn't come back, right? You just need to be honest about your answers, right? That's literally what it is, connect. To be able to sort of really get to know someone. You're not trying to manufacture a friendship, because those types are the worst. If someone doesn't drive with you, then distance yourself. You see how I'm not saying, oh, if you really want to get that person to like you, you have to make sure you do this, make sure you do that. If the person doesn't like you, then they don't like you. You might be so surprised to how often people come around. You'll be so surprised. The best thing to do is if let's say a conversation is not going well, just say, oh, well, it was very nice to meet you, but I think I have to go back to my friend, or go back to do something now. Really good chatting though. Very simple, very quick. Just say that. You don't know next time, rather than trying to solve it. Oh my, why am I'm losing bitrate? This hasn't happened before. I think I'm using up a lot of energy in my laptop. Yeah, because it's like, it's never steamed before. Now I'm actually hearing the sound, like the fan. I'm actually hearing it, but it never used to do that before. Maybe it's because I have a lot of apps on. It's okay though. Right? you know. So don't try to force a friendship. Don't try it. Don't do it. From strangers to friends, don't do it. Don't try to force it. Never ever try to force it. Right? To connect with people, you just need to understand them. Understand yourself, most importantly, and then understand the people. Right? Why would you want to connect? Right? You have to have similar ways of thinking, or at least a way to, you have to find a way that you guys can connect. If they like this and you like that, then connect through that. If they like this and you like that, then connect through that. If they don't like this and don't like that, then just, there's no point. There's no point, right? If it's more of a, let's say it's more of a business related relationship, right? You want something from them because they have access to that thing, or they have that thing, right? First thing you need to know is, are they willing to give that thing to you, or to, and who? Okay, who are they willing to give that thing to, and what are you willing to do to be that person, right? So essentially, if it's a sort of a business type thing, you'd want to get closer with like a business partner or something like that. To connect with a business partner, or like a, let's say, work friend or something like that, or colleague or whatever, you have to bring them value. I think am I going off topic? I don't know if I'm going off topic. Let's see the prompt again. Let's see where we are at. Okay, how to connect with people. Right, it's on a person level. So this should be regardless of um what type of connection. It should be general for every type of place. So the main thing is just to be honest about um okay, reason for interaction. All right, curious questions. So you get initiated first, right? Organic ones are the best types. Um, Manufactured ones are possible, right? You can go. I don't know. I don't know about that. To like just go up to a human being and just say, let me just start asking you questions. No. Um. Right. I think it's better for proximity. Being in someone's line of sight, I guess. It works. Or would I say doing something for them to put you in their line of sight? You know? Doing something to put you in somebody's line of sight. Right? Mm, I focus a lot on the conversation aspect without looking at the broad picture. Okay, let's take it a bit further right. Strangers, acquaintances, friends, right? How do you go from acquaintance to friend? You can skip this acquaintance phase and go straight to friend, but I don't know about that. But acquaintance is just someone you know. So when you have a conversation with someone first, you sort of become familiar with that person. But what is the stage to go from there to friends? What is this stage? I think this stage is possibly to do with sort of time or quality of time. You know, So a lot of time can add into really high quality, or really a short amount of time, but like really good time can add into the same amount of quality. So I think that's where I got this from, right? To have quality conversations, to really get to know a person more quicker, not by design, but by just like wanting to, without showing that. I think I'm saying a lot of things, but they're not like, they don't have like a particular like connection to all of them. I'm just saying things. So how would I really describe it? Right? To connect with someone, right? How to connect with people. To connect with people, you need to be the type of person, you need to present yourself as wanting to know, right? Wanting to know about someone just because that's who you are. You're someone, you need to present yourself, not present yourself, but be someone who cares about people, because people want to be cared about. That's why people like to talk a lot about themselves. People want other people to notice them. So, not just notice, but to connect with people, you need to, yeah, I think you need to notice them. People want to be noticed. Like they want some sort of no, I wouldn't say, would I say approval? They want acknowledgement, you know? So just don't acknowledge people um in a generic way if you want to connect with them. A generic way meaning all different types of things, like if you're in the event, right, you just do the things that people in events do. If you're in the party, you just do the things that people in the parties do. If you're in the if you're in the school, you just do the things that people in the school do. If you're in the social night, that's an event. You just do the thing, you know what I mean? The generic, hey, hi, this and this. When you really connect with people, you just need to be honest. Be curious about who they are, and this is a whole new person that has, like, you know how people think themselves as a main character? To really connect with someone, view that person as the main character, right? View them as the main character, and now you're sort of listening to their story, right? Let's say, for example, you need to be able to sort of fill in the gaps, right? You don't know someone, all you can see is their, I guess, physical features, right? You've never heard anything about them, right? So now you're meant to use, with the words that they give you, you're meant to explore this person's story, you know? So if you only have a limited amount of time, like how long do initial conversations last? I'm not gonna search it. Like how long do like conversations last where you're just meeting someone for the first time? Normally, like it's like less. I would say it's less than like 5, 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, how do you structure your questions? And if you have very good questions, people would want to talk to you for like hours. On your first meeting them. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend talking to someone for hours first time. No, just don't do that. Keep it short and sweet. It will be like you've already exhausted everything that you could have been learning more, like over time. So no, don't do that. But yeah, you just basically are trying to get their story so that you know them, who they are, at a deeper level, and that's pretty much how you connect with someone. To connect means knowing them at a deeper level and presenting yourself honestly to them, right? You don't manufacture who you connect with. You allow the connection to happen because it's inevitable, right? Once you are honest about um once you're honest in your approach, right? You're honest in your approach, and you're truly like curious about understanding this main character that's in front of you, then it's quite easy for people to be attracted to that, and connection is just going to be like inevitable rather than artificial, you know. So that's the best way to go about it. for me personally, I don't really speak to much people anymore. Never. Yeah, I don't really speak to much people anymore. I have my very good friends, extremely close friends. Um, and yeah, I came up from Morocco as well, so yeah, and even there, like I met some phenomenal people. So to connect is not something that to connect with people is a skill, right? It's a skill, but it depends on the person. It depends on the person. If you're finding it hard to connect with people, then actually, what would be the reason someone finds it hard to connect with people? Let's just say they can't get people to like them, right? I think that's a part that I missed. And if we ever revisit this topic, I'll get that how to be likable. I'll get to that, right? It's a part I missed definitely because if you want to connect with someone, then it's the hard thing is to get people to like you. Obviously, you can ask all the questions you want, but if people's general reaction to you is just like they don't mess with you, there has to be a reason for it. There has to be a reason for it, or it has to be something with your approach, right? Oh, another thing, make people comfortable. Like, make them very calm or right? Once you get this locked, and I haven't even went into detail on this. Once you get this locked, and you ask questions curiously, and you know how to really like drive a conversation to like a very unique conclusion, then it wouldn't be so. It's not tough to really connect with someone, right? I'm at the stage where it's like, to be honest, I can connect with anybody, but I just don't have time. You know what I mean? I don't have time to just, or energy to just, to be doing this so often. Like to be, I guess, going out, trimming, or this and that. To be hanging out too much. I just don't. I'm very busy, focused on like trying to crack down work and everything that comes with it. So I just no, right? But moving away from sort of work and stuff, um, trying to connect with people is something that I just think it's like the best thing to do. That's what we're here for. We're social, and we're supposed to really connect. So this is a great skill to have, to understand people in general, to understand the human psyche, and to be able to, should I say, unravel another person's mind is how I would like to connect if that was the case in the future, right? Yeah, because because people may seem similar, but everybody is so unique. Every single person is so unique. I think most of the time how we see people is how people want to be seen, like they present themselves like that. But if you actually genuinely get to know someone, bro, they're just as weird as you. Oh my thing, like you'll see someone and they'll have this like very like what's it called? They'll have the way like they present themselves. It will be very like, like whoa, you know. But then when you actually get to know the person, they're just as weird as you. They're just as weird as you. Though sometimes some people are genuinely just as cool as they present themselves. Honestly, like honestly, right? And that's the thing, right? You don't you're not supposed to have like and oh, this guy's putting up a front, or oh, this girl is just she's faking it, right? So people are genuinely exactly how they present themselves. Other people are like they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it because they don't trust people. They're doing it because of this and this. But if you're genuinely asking very curious questions and you're just, I guess, honest and you're taking their answer like verbatim, right? Obviously, understanding social cues and all of that, and like nonverbal communication and all this stuff, right? That's just extra like jargon. But if you're genuinely honest about or like listening to them, right? Actually listening to them. There's a lot you can know about someone in a very short amount of time. And I think the quality of the conversation is sort of the best way to connect with people, right? To be able to break through whatever walls you're putting up with the right questions. Watching them stumble in their how they answer, right? And also, even like for instance, like if you let's say you ask a question, people are stumbling, whatever the case may be, you still need to make sure they're still comfortable, right? This, if you break this, then it's over. You need to make sure they're comfortable regardless of anything, whatever happens, make sure that they remain comfortable, right? And that's, yeah, you know what I mean. So let's make a final statement. How do you connect with people? Okay, to connect with people, you have to understand different personalities that exist to make sure that you can short amount of time by asking curious questions. To drive a con, there are a con to a FYIG conclusion for both parties, right? Whereby you learn through this can, however, be done by keeping the person comfortable throughout the convo. By keeping the person comfortable throughout the convo, and then what else? Alright, to connect with people, you have to understand the different personalities that exist to make sure that you can dissect who a person is in a short amount of time by asking curious questions. You need to be able to drive a conversation to a satisfying conclusion for both parties, whereby you learn a lot about the person, and through that they learn about you also. However, this can only be done by keeping the person comfortable throughout the conversation, right? Be sure to remember why did I spell short like that? Remember what the person told you and follow up with more insightful, with more interesting convos. Conversations. This leads to other activities that allow you to connect. Further, think this is kind of this was rushed as well. Seems that way. Right, to connect with people, you have to understand the different personalities that exist to make sure that you dissect who a person is in a short amount of time by asking curious questions. You need to be able to drive a conversation to a satisfying conclusion for both parties, whereby you learn a lot about the person, and through that, they learn about you also. However, this can be done by keeping the person comfortable. We don't keep the person throughout the convo, but we sure to remember the person, what the person told you, and follow up on more interesting conversations to see so other activities that allow you to connect further. I think that is okay. I think that is okay. So, the bottom line is, I never mentioned anything about being honest, but the bottom line is basically this, right? Not the should I say the bottom line? But I'll say like the main thing to remember. Obviously, that's like the rule. But the main thing to remember is like what you're trying to do is sort of unravel how someone is the main character in their story, right? So basically, when you first meet someone and you're trying to connect with that person, right? You know, in your life, how you sort of look like through your lens, you're looking at it through like, okay, you're the main character of your story. You have to be the person that's protected because if you're done, you're done, you know? So see somebody else as the main character of their story, right? And they just try to know what their story is. So this is sort of the avenue you start asking questions from, right? And be honest and curious about your answers. Just ask really good follow-up questions too. And then like from there it's pretty simple to really connect with anyone, honestly. So yeah. Okay. Let's first search one thing online. Let's see what the internet says. Okay, how do you connect with people? What kind of people? Foster trust, active listening, right? Genuine curiosity, and vulnerability to foster trust. Yeah, I think I said a lot more than I put in my final statement, right? But I think you guys get the picture. You guys get the picture. I think that final statement wasn't really the best. I think I probably need to spend more time in my final statements. You know, I need to spend way more time with them. So yeah, we'll get into that later. Right? Right. I haven't put a bunch of things that I made in my Discord, so remind me to do all of that too. Try to get that done again after. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Sharing after heart to heart. What does that mean? Fun moments. Yeah, just all of this, a lot of this. Okay. Um. That's all for today. Remember, every single day, 9 to 10. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.